love to introduce the most relaxed CEO in the biotech industry, Ilan Sobel.
Well, it's been some time since I was introduced as the most relaxed CEO. Thank you, Justin. Quite a compliment. So good evening, everybody. Very excited to take you through some, really, I think, interesting content today that I think all our shareholder partners are really going to appreciate. And thank you, everybody, for all the emojis. That's going to help me get through this after a very long day and a very long week, but a good week for the company, I must say. Forward-looking statements. Just everybody have a quick read of this, please. Great. Okay, so today's journey, we're going to do an update on the second quarter performance. We are going to share with you what we're doing to actually scale the business and key highlights of our scale up for North America. And then I'm going to go deep and share with you an update on the cannabis market entry strategy, specifically for North America. And we'll touch a little bit on our financing, and then we'll have time for Q&A. Okay, Justin, can you hear me okay? Is everything all right? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. Because I hear a few sounds here and there. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear or it's clear? It's good. Okay. If it's not clear, you let me know, okay? All right, great. So let's first look at VINIA global performance. Overall, for the quarter, it was a really strong quarter for us. We grew, literally doubled the business versus second quarter 2021, and we nearly got to that $1 million mark, which is going to be an important milestone for us to exceed in the third quarter, hopefully significantly. Great work by the team, both in the US and in Israel. When we look at versus the first quarter, we saw a nice growth of 24%. So good momentum that we're starting to see across the business, continued momentum. And what this means now is we look at the first half of the year, we have literally doubled the size of the business versus the first half of 2021. And as many of you heard today, we just received that very big purchase order from our key partners, Batory. This is a big 1,000 kilo, 1 ton. For those of you on the not on the metric system, it's a 2,200 pound order, which we will be delivering to our partners, Batory Foods, by the end of this year. Batory continued to be an amazing partner from a thought leadership, strategy, sales execution perspective, and overall operational logistics. And they've done a great job engaging with many major champions of industry who are now looking to utilize VINIA as a critical health and wellness ingredient in their array of products. So great news that we announced today, and it was good to see the market reacting very positively around this. There's been a lot of work done by Vince Pineri and Nicole and the team at Batory in actually building this pipeline, and we're looking forward to one of these big opportunities of popping over the next 6 months. So based on the momentum of the business that we have, in addition with the heavy investment we're going to apply to the marketplace, we, from a scale-up perspective, as the supply chain starts to have more oxygen in it, we still feel really good about the guidance for 2022 of 5 to 7 million, which is obviously a 2.5 to 3.5 times growth versus 2021. So now let's go deeper and look at USA performance. US business, again, still very, very tight from a supply chain perspective, but we've commenced selling in new channels, and we're starting to see some really good efficiencies from Jared and the team, and we saw 21% growth, and I'm really happy about that performance in the US, and obviously Q3 is going to be a big step up for us as we start to unleash a really solid marketing plan. Our subscription revenue grew nicely as well, and importantly, which we're super excited about, the quality of the subscription mix is getting better and better. And this is very, very purposeful as we're driving more and more people into 3-month plus packages. You can see in Q3 2021, we had 44% of our customer base on subscription in 3+ month packages. And now we're at 76%. So that's a significant improvement. And it's really important because this is all about loyalty. It's all about ensuring that these customers are staying for us and have a significant lifetime value. And we know that our churn levels are much lower when people are on 3-month plus subscription packages versus 1 month. So you actually see we adapted a few changes in our pricing as well to help drive much more people into the $99 3-month offer and then in the 6-month and 12-month offers. And that's, as I said, all about churn. From an overall social proof perspective, we continue to see heavy engagement with the brand and specifically with VINIA and what VINIA is, a fundamental change, positive change that VINIA is having with consumers. We hit the 700 verified reviews mark a little bit earlier this week, which really is tremendous. This is verified reviews, and we continue with a 4.8 out of 5 rating. And I encourage all of our investor partners, go to vinia.com, go to the reviews page, spend some time reading how people write about their relationship with the brand and how the VINIA brand is positively affecting their lives. And also, if you're on the site, I encourage you to go to a news part of the site. You'll see down the bottom, you can click on a link which goes to testimonials. And we now have around about 50 or 60 actual video testimonials of people sharing their experience with VINIA. Let's talk about Israel. Kudos to Michael and the Thai and the team in Israel and the entire operations and support team that are supporting them. Israel had an amazing, amazing quarter. $570,000 in little Israel, literally where we're marking to 8 million people. This is a significant growth versus previous year, and also a significant growth versus the first quarter. And if you remember, when we sat down and we talked about first quarter, our January, February was heavily impacted with COVID, where we roughly had about 60% of consumers actually going through the COVID crisis during January, February. But we bounced back super strong, and you can see that curve from Q4 2020 all the way through to Q2 2022, consistent, solid, double-digit growth. And this is really amazing momentum that we believe we will continue going through to the rest of the year. Importantly, we spent a lot of resources on ensuring that VINIA was accessible to the Israeli Arab community, making sure that we had Arabic language from an overall website perspective. And we're seeing an amazing take-up and really strong demand coming from the Arab community, which is super exciting. And again, a great opportunity for us to build and nurture strong relationships in this important part of the community. When we look at key metrics that we look at in Israel, like the average value per transaction, we actually see it peaking at $200 per transaction. Now, remember, Israel does not have subscription. Israeli consumers, for a number of reasons, do not like the overall subscription packages. So we sell here a 2-month, a 4-month, an 8-month, and a 12-month package. And we see now that our average selling price is roughly $200 and continues to climb. You can see we started roughly, and I'm talking shekels now, in January, February, we were around about the 560 shekels, and we've literally increased that more than 20%, 25%, which is really solid. And again, it just demonstrates consumers' relationship with the brand and their willingness to purchase more product because they understand that this is now a critical part of their overall daily life. And then second quarter was great as far as new customer acquisition is concerned. Shai and the team did a great job there, and we acquired nearly 1,500 new customers, which is a significant growth versus the first quarter. So overall, great performance in second quarter. It sets the foundation for a very important third quarter where we need to take this momentum to the next level, with Israel double downing on what's working for them. And obviously for us now, as we open up and bring oxygen into the supply chain for the US scale up, we will have the supply chain availability. Plus, obviously, we're going to put more oxygen from a marketing perspective. And let's talk about that oxygen from a marketing perspective that Jared, AJ, Yael, and the team are working on. Importantly, we're going to continue with what's working, but we're going to double down on education and community building. So let's first talk about a couple of areas. Firstly, subscription for us is critical. We're always driving people into subscription. And importantly, in this challenging environment, you see many brands taking price increases. We've worked really hard on productivity, on reducing, becoming more efficient in our marketing, on actually looking at continuous ways to reduce overall cost of goods. And we will, for the foreseeable future, maintain our pricing, specifically on key packages like our $99 3-month key subscription package. So you're going to see us really driving those subscription packages with a strong focus of building penetration, acquisition of new customers by providing significant value from an overall price-value relationship. As it relates to our core communication, it's always going to be education and science-focused, and we will keep on doing more and more from a community building perspective. We have today, roughly about just over 3,200 subscription users in the US. And we are going to be leveraging the power of our subscription users. Many of them are investor partners as well, to go out and actually reward them through loyalty programs, reward them for actually referring VINIA to friends. And this is a way we can very quickly go from 3,000 subscribers to 10,000 subscribers, just with one person talking proactively and positively about their VINIA experience. It's a way for us very quickly to cost effectively build a brand, and we're putting all the technical infrastructure in place for this. What we're going to be doing as far as the scale up from a communication perspective, you're going to see us starting to talk about a real leadership position from an overall marketing perspective and leveraging the power of our biotech credentials to really establish a unique point of difference in the marketplace. And this is going to ultimately translate into a much stronger leadership position for us in the category. We are already seen today as the best in class from a piceid resveratrol and an overall blood flow perspective. And so what we've decided to do is really help consumers dimensionalize how we're actually dramatically changing blood flow in their bodies. And this opens up this new world that we're calling cellular nutrition. So we're welcoming our consumers to cellular nutrition, which is a world that we own. And this is the world where we change blood flow forever. And everybody understands that blood flow is such an important part of our body's overall operating mechanism. And we'll be talking about how we actually change blood flow forever in people's bodies. And that's really through the relationship of how we're leveraging the power of our plant cells with the unique polyphenol blend of piceid resveratrol and the matrix of other polyphenols to improve our human cells. And ultimately, many people may not understand this, but in our bodies, we have 1 million endothelial cells. And these endothelial cells are the cells that literally take in all of our polyphenols. And actually, with all of our polyphenols going into the cells start to produce more nitric oxide, which is so important as a vasodilator, and reduce the amount of ET1, which is a vasoconstrictor. And we're the only company in the world that actually is able to get the endothelial cells to deliver in this way as a result of the power of our polyphenols. So we're going to be telling consumers how when they take VINIA, they're actually retraining, repowering their endothelial cells, which line all their arteries and their blood vessels, helping them change blood flow forever in their body. So this is a very unique positioning. It leverages the power of our biotech platform, and it really positions us as the authority from an overall blood flow, blood circulation perspective. So watch out for some breakthrough creative in this space. We'll continue to use, as a scale up, more Facebook, TikTok. Google's becoming more and more important for us. When you go into google.com and you're searching for VINIA, you're searching many terms. As a result of our search optimization, we're starting to see some amazing results and a very, very positive cost of overall customer acquisition. We also, as we've spoken about, and people may have seen the Israel Insights show, that we were featured on TBN Network. We have an amazing partnership with TBN, given obviously the Christian evangelical community, which is a sizable 80 million plus community, really understanding the power of VINIA from an overall health and wellness perspective, but also linking to obviously very relevant components of their, of their overall connection to the Bible, and also importantly understanding that VINIA is from the land of Zion. So there's multiple connection points, and we will be on TBN with 60-second commercials, 30-second commercials. I will have the privilege of actually appearing on some very high-profile shows. I will be on the Huckabee show in the probably end of third quarter, early fourth quarter. Eric Metaxas in the month of August, and also we've got a really nice sponsorship going with Kirk Cameron. So it's a good combination of engagement in specifically in very high-profile shows, as well as advertising that's going to go through to our website. And we'll be opening up a special over-the-phone call center for people to purchase VINIA. So this is a really important part of our scaling, and we believe it will be super efficient, and we will have very significant lifetime value from these very, very important consumers. How does everybody feel about that? Excited? Show me some emojis. Come on. All right, great. Amazon. A lot of people have talked to us about Amazon and asked about Amazon. So we will be on Amazon in the third quarter. I was very purposeful from a strategy perspective to make sure that we built our own website first, and that our website is going to be our most critical source of traffic to purchases. However, there are some people who basically live on Amazon and don't move off Amazon, and we need to be there so they have access to VINIA. And we are right now in the final stages of getting ready to going live on Amazon. And we're also going to be going big with podcasts. Who doesn't listen to podcasts these days? And in fact, one of the first podcasts I'm going to be doing next week is a podcast called the Joe Rogan Experience Review. Now, take it easy. I'm not yet going to be on the Joe Rogan show. That will come hopefully in the next maybe 6 months, and we can aim to get there. But there's another podcast called the Joe Rogan Experience Review that gets 500,000 downloads per month. We will be sponsoring this, and there will be about a 45-minute, 1-hour interview with me on this show, which I think will be posted, should be sometime next week. And obviously Justin will give you access to all of these materials. So as you can see, as far as the US scale up, you've got, big push into paid social, paid search. We're going TV, we're going podcasts, we're leveraging different channels, referral programs, and we feel really good about our ability to really start to step change the velocity and momentum now that we have supply chain working for us. I also wanted to share with all our investor partners that we made a very big investment last week. After literally a year of scouring the world for the best drying technology, and we really scoured the world across, the best of the Spanish manufacturing infrastructure, Italian, French, German, and we landed on an amazing company. It's a family company that makes very high-end equipment, and we purchased our first Pushner microwave power system for all of our VINIA drying, as we bring all our VINIA drying underneath our one roof. And the actual, it will be a 12-ton machine, will be available hopefully early second quarter next year. However, we will have a pilot machine that we will start to work with that has significant capacity, 3 to 4 tons. We'll start working with that in October. This allows us amazing yields, which improves overall productivity. It also will allow us to produce even better polyphenols, higher levels of the critical polyphenols that we are currently producing, like the PASI levels and the other antioxidant levels will be improved with this unique equipment. We've done a lot of testing, and kudos to Kobe, Yoav, and the team who've done a lot of work in this area. And this is really going to be a source, an additional source of competitive advantage. And importantly, I wanted to share with all our shareholder partners, BioHarvest is a purpose-driven company. Not only are we maniacally focused on building human utility value, but you hear me talk about the importance of ensuring that we're doing this in a way that preserves the planet and leaves the planet in a better place for our children and our grandchildren. So every decision that we make these decisions through the lens of sustainability. And as you can see, this new technology is a game changer for us from a sustainability perspective. We're going to talk about it more in the next 20 minutes when we talk cannabis. But it's also important when we talk VINIA. We have to be best in class in this area. And we have to be really a beacon of light for the industry, because that's what purpose-driven companies are. They are beacons of light for the industry. So this machine was not a cheap machine. It's a highly, highly specialized, expensive machine that produces a premium product. And importantly, it does it in a way that ensures that the amount of energy used and the amount of water used is substantially, materially lower than regular spray drying techniques that are currently employed in the industry. So I just thought I would share that with our shareholder partners. We're super excited of partnering with Pushner. We see our partnership as an important competitive advantage. It's going to get us an even better product to bring to all of our customers, and it's doing it in the right way from an overall sustainability perspective. I want to talk a little bit about Brian Kornblatt, Dr. Brian Kornblatt, who has come on board now as our Chief Medical Officer. Many of you would have seen that announcement. This, shareholder partners, is a major, major acquisition for the company. Brian joining the leadership team really brings a level of experience, a level of horsepower, and a level of experience that will really take the business to the next level. His background and experience really speaks for itself, from himself being a graduate of Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, and also having a postdoctoral fellowship from Johns Hopkins. He's got enormous experience in the area of oncology, as scientific director at the Catholic Health Initiative Center and managing literally his initiatives across 40 centers across the US of A. And as medical director at Nutramax, he himself really pioneered Avmacol, which is an amazing product, 18 clinical trials, and a number of different use cases from autism, where they've done a tremendous amount of positive work. So Brian really has already kind of come into the business. He's really, really focused, and he's really delivering value quickly. And what we've been doing with Brian is, if you recall, we identified from all the engagement we have now with close to 14,000 customers that have experienced VINIA in the last 12 to 18 months. We understand that VINIA is able to address a number of areas that we don't really talk about as it relates to our overall focus right now in our marketing, because it's all related around cardiovascular health and energy. And we've now basically prioritized of these of these 6 areas, we prioritize 4 that Brian is now developing a plan as far as doing additional research as we validate a lot of the feedback we're getting from many of our customers around VINIA's ability, for example, of making a significant transformational change with severe gingivitis because of the blood flow impact and improving the blood flow to the tissues around the actual teeth, as an example. So we've now focused, we're going to be focusing on looking at the opportunities of VINIA and its ability to transform blood flow in the body and therefore improving erectile dysfunction, helping overall, sexual performance. And there's more work that we're going to be doing there in this area with urology clinics, and then starting to think about what could be next. What does the next product look like in this area? And that could be, a VINIA X product, higher dosage, maybe a slightly difference in the polyphenol intensities. But these are the kind of areas that we're looking at. I just wanted to share with you from a futuristic perspective. And obviously, we've got to do a lot of validation here. But we have a number of data points that demonstrate that this, as an example, could be an area that has significant value for us. Similarly, in the area of gum disease, we've now started to have dialogue with companies in the oral care space, because VINIA could be a great differentiator for companies in the space, whereby you're utilizing a unique ingredient to improve overall oral care. And then obviously we have Raynaud's disease and Meniere's disease, which are really challenging diseases that people suffer from a lack of blood flow in the case of Raynaud's to your fingertips and to your toes, and Meniere's a lack of blood flow in the actual inner ear. And this is area that we're going to be, again, doing more additional work, potentially clinical trials, and potentially down the path could be an area that we look at for the company to go down the botanical drug route. More to come in this area from Dr. Brian. At our next investor update in Q3, Brian will share with you all the specific work plan that we're working through in each of these areas. And we'll continue. This is not short-term. This is a long-term process. But we will continue to share with you updates in this area. Okay, so that's VINIA. How's everyone feeling on VINIA? Okay, good to see. And we've got 110 people with us, which is great. Okay, who wants to talk cannabis? Okay, so I'm now going to take you through the thinking around the cannabis market entry strategy. And I'm going to share with you why the time is now for BioHarvest when it comes to leveraging the power of our platform technology to disrupt an industry that is waiting for, is begging for innovation. We, and I've said this publicly, we have investment bankers working with us. We are heavily engaged in partnership discussions in North America and in Israel with cannabis operators, cannabis companies, as well as with, to some extent, pharma-related companies. Why is the time right now for our technology? And I want to help you understand why disruption is needed with such great gravity in the industry right now. When you look at the market realities, it really demonstrates that despite significant growth, and we've seen significant growth, 2020, the US, $20 billion business, 2021, $27 billion business, and you're seeing significant growth projected every single year. We're seeing obviously many cannabis company stocks under a lot of pressure. And the industry really is facing many challenges which require a paradigm shift. And I want to help you understand what's driving the need for a paradigm shift, for really the opportunity for operators that we partner with to really substantially alter the trend that you see on the right-hand side of your page, with just a level of disruption that only technology can bring. and technology like a biotech company's technology, like our bioplan solicitation platform technology. As always, I look at everything from a consumer perspective, and then we'll look at it from the operator's perspective. Today, consumers, whether it's Canada, whether it's the US, they are becoming more discerning than ever. On the recreational side, consumers are looking for better value. Disposable income is shrinking rapidly in this highly inflationary environment. So consumers are really careful with the discretionary money that they have, and they're always looking for better value and new and unique experiences. On the medicinal side, we're starting to see much more knowledge from consumers around not just the major cannabinoids, but also the minor cannabinoids, understanding also the different full spectrum effects of different cannabinoid profiles in treating major palliative indications like ADHD, asthma, migraine, fibromyalgia, etc. And we're seeing, obviously, the amount of substitution where cannabis is being actually substituted versus other pharmaceutical synthetic drugs with significant side effects. We're seeing significant substitution into cannabis. Both of these trends from a consumer perspective, whether it's recreational, looking for better value and new experiences, or medicinal, looking for better solutions for specific indications that they're looking to substitute pharma medications, this is the right time for BioHarvest. Now, when we look at it from a cannabis operator's perspective, they are being impacted and squeezed from every side. And, I've had the privilege in the last 6 weeks to talk to many operators. And the conversations are very, very consistent around the multiple pain points that they're all feeling and feel like they're being squeezed from and pressurized from multiple different directions. Firstly, we see that competition in the marketplace from California all the way to the East Coast and clearly in Canada is driving increased price compression, retail price compression. Price points are coming down as a result of competition. And when you have this situation as an operator, the basics of marketing tells you have to innovate to differentiate so you can change the value equation and you can get out of the pricing compression spiral. Innovation through differentiation is so important. And we're going to talk more about how BioHarvest can help in this area. The second aspect, and we're seeing this just with what the Fed's doing with interest rates in a hyperinflationary environment, and the fact that everybody understands the actual capital required for cannabis, specifically indoor cannabis plantations, we always benchmark ourselves versus indoor, is significant. We're literally talking $1 million of capital at least to be able to produce 1 ton of cannabis a year. Okay? And now with the cost of capital increasing, that becomes really expensive to service that capital if it's taken on as debt. So what's critical is that we have to use technology to rethink agriculture, because the current agricultural methods are not really suffice to be able to be running a lean business when your cost of capital is and depreciation and interest is not a major pain point on your P&L. And that means you have to rethink the current agricultural practices. The second area is we're seeing increased regulation driven by massive sustainability needs. The US is experiencing one of the most challenging period right now from an overall drought management perspective. From the West Coast down into the Southwest, bleeding into the Southeast, you have many, many states that are absolutely struggling as far as their water levels are concerned. And you actually have some states now stopping recreational cannabis users from utilizing water, given the amount of water that's utilized in the growing of the cannabis plants. So with this increased regulation, and it's not just happening in the area of water, it's happening also with the utilization of fossil fuels, given the challenges we have right now from a geopolitical perspective as it relates to the energy crisis. So we have to use technology to drive sustainability wins, because the industry can't keep on going on like this. We can't have cannabis companies consuming 4% of the grid in Colorado, as an example. And then we're seeing costs for our cannabis operators increase significantly. Labor costs are increasing, and labor with agricultural practices is a very significant part of the overall composition. And now with the rising in the US energy prices, we're seeing literally energy prices increase significantly, and it's a major driver of the cannabis costs, given the amount of energy utilized in the lights, in the air conditioning, and other aspects of the current indoor process. So, and this is going to require, frankly, again, technology to drive cost reduction. So these are the key forces that are putting enormous pressure on cannabis operators. And what I want to share with you all is how BioHarvest technology is going to fundamentally change this for the actual cannabis operating partners that we will choose in North America. And we will choose no more than 2 to 3 anchor partners as we look at the broader North America to partner with. And without technology, it will really drive a game-changing differentiation and disruption within the cannabis marketplace, but not just delivering on what's required from a consumer perspective and top-line revenue growth perspective, but also making sure we're doing this as a purpose-driven company, responsibly from an environmental perspective. You see a consistent theme. So it's our biotech technology, which really is a game changer from a consumer perspective, but also from an MSO and a major LP producer in Canada perspective. So let's talk now on how we're going to be doing this in each of these areas. All right, how's everybody feeling so far? Give me some emojis. Okay. Yeah, it's disruptive. It's disruptive, and we're only getting started. Okay. So let's talk first about how we innovate to differentiate. Well, I want to tell you, shareholder partners, as a result of our bioplant solicitation technology, the gravity of the fact that we grow just the trichome. We're growing 93% trichome. This is bubble hash. This is the Rolls Royce of cannabis. We have 100 to 200 times the density of trichomes versus the plant. And we're privileged to literally just be growing trichomes. And that gives us unique product differentiation in the marketplace. We've talked about our unique composition. And I must tell you that over the last 4 weeks, we've had some real breakthroughs in the composition and in really deciphering exactly the magic that is inside our trichomes. It hasn't been easy. There's been an enormous amount of actual measurement methods. Thank you, Istok, and my team. Yochi, Malkit, Yaden, Noah, amazing work you've done in the last, Orly as well, in the last 6 weeks to really unlock exactly what is in our trichomes. And we will be sharing this, hopefully, sooner than later. Obviously, we're working this carefully because of our IP. We want to make sure our IP is as protected as possible. But you'll notice a few changes in this chart. If you look at this chart, versus when I presented this chart previously. And they're subtle, but I will explain a little bit more. we have major cannabinoids, and we have a lot of major cannabinoids. Your classics, THC, THCA, CBDA, CBGA. But we also have, ladies and gentlemen, minor cannabinoids. And we have a lot of minor cannabinoids in our trichomes, levels that are higher than are traditionally in the overall plant itself, with unique ratios when we combine them to our other major cannabinoids, which gives us very unique overall composition of our cannabis. And we're talking minor cannabinoids like CBC, THCV, CBDV. These are breakthrough cannabinoids from a medicinal perspective, but also from an experiential perspective, because the new consumer, recreational consumer, is going to want to not just consume the required amounts of THC and CBD, but they want that full spectrum effect with other cannabinoids being part of that entourage effect, giving them that unique overall experience that they're looking for. And as you remember, with BioHarvest, we're able to do this with a unique level of consistency that you're not going to find with other brands in the cannabis space. I'm going to share something with you today, and bear with me for being a little bit biological, getting into the biotech biological space. But I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about why our cannabinoids are so special. So what you see here is another representation of trichomes, right? You see the heads here, and then you see the stems. Okay. Everybody with me? I need your focus here. It's very cool what I'm going to show you. So what you see here, I want to share with you how unique and different our cannabinoids are in our unique trichomes versus the cannabinoids you will find in any other plant. Now remember, we're growing our trichomes in liquid media, in big bioreactors in liquid media. Okay. What you see is that our trichomes are the green, our cannabinoids are the green dots here, which are bound in the fat of the trichome cell membrane. Okay. When you look at a regular plant cannabinoid, they're the yellow. They are in the reservoir. They float around in the reservoir. Now, what's really interesting is that when you understand and you look at the human body, and we all know that we have an endocannabinoidal system, and our actual bodies produce endocannabinoids. And when you look at our endocannabinoids, you'll understand that the human endocannabinoids, similarly to BioHarvest cannabinoids, are similarly bound in the fat of the human cell membrane. And it makes a lot of sense because we grow our trichomes in liquid media. When you actually understand the human body is liquid, and those endocannabinoids are being produced also in a liquid environment. And therefore, we start to see a significant resemblance. And this is important, and this is one of the reasons why we believe, and we still, I want to be very clear, we still have more science-based work to do in this area and validation. Why we started to talk about the fact that we believe, still to be validated, in a way that we like to validate things, that we have unique sustainability and bioavailability. We also know that because our actual cannabinoids are in this membrane, when we have to extract for measurement purposes, when you do a certificate of analysis, we have to extract the cannabinoids from the actual membranes of the trichome. We have to use very, very serious high acid, low pH materials. And when you utilize those high acid, low pH materials on flour, it will disintegrate the flour. What we found is that with our cannabinoids, they are able to deal very well with the high acid, low pH. And that resembles your stomach. And therefore, we believe that our cannabinoids will be able to, let's call it, operate very efficiently within our stomach for those people that are actually consuming the cannabis in edibles or in a beverage. And there will be very little degradation of the cannabinoids as it enters into our system. So there's more work that needs to be done here, but I want to go back on the need to be different, differentiation through innovation. And with the trichomes, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm sharing with you here, and many of you have not seen this before, these are pictures I took yesterday of basically finished biomass. Our biomass, and you can see it's beautiful coral trichomes all amalgamated together. Easy if you want from a recreational perspective to actually grind, to put into a pre-roll and smoke it. We have no issues going to vapes or concentrates. It can be used just as regular flower can be used. But there are some new actual channels, new forms, let's call it, that we believe can be utilized because of the uniqueness of our biomass, of our flower, of our biomass, of our trichomes. And these include, for example, beverages. If you think about pulp in an orange juice, we believe our trichomes can survive very well in an orange juice product to be consumed, and with very significant, obviously with very solid solubility and bioavailability. Think yogurts, to actually have it inside a yogurt and to consume it this way. Think chewing gum. These are many different ways that we can actually bring significant innovation to the business. How's everyone feeling about this? All right. Picture tells 1,000 words. Okay. Now let's talk about the capital challenges that we talked about and how we need to rethink agriculture and how BioHarvest is doing this. Our technology has a very unique capital to biomass output ratio. We know this because we just did it with VINIA. We spent $4 million to build a facility that we believe can do north of 20 tons. For cannabis, a greenfield site, you're looking at $5 million. It's an extra $1 million purely because of security measures, level 1 substance. But our yields are higher, so we can get roughly 30 plus metric tons per year of cannabis biomass. Now that's about $120,000 to $150,000 per ton in capex. And if you go back to what I said to you before, an average indoor plantation is spending $1 million per ton on capital required. So we are a factor of 7 times less when it comes to capital. And when you're looking as a multi-state operator to operate in more and more and more states in the current environment where you have to have a plant in every single state, you can't be spending $20 million in every state. So this is where our technology really is a breakthrough. Now let's talk about sustainability, and thank you, Rona, for all the work you've done in helping us here in this area on how our technology is really driving game-changing sustainability wins for the industry. I'm going to take you through some critical metrics that are looked at in the cannabis space across water, across electricity, across productivity, and across actual carbon footprint. Let's first talk water productivity. With water productivity, we look at the grams of dry flower produced per gallon of water. Indoor cultivation, and these are public numbers that we're using, referenced from New Frontier data sources. And if we compare it to BioHarvest, we're producing 260 grams of dry flower per gallon of water. And what's important to understand as part of this equation, why it's so high, is whatever water are not consumed by the cells, that water can go back into the municipal system and be reused. because we're not containing any pathogens or any kind of heavy metals or anything that the local municipal system will not be willing to bring on board and take through its overall recycling programs. So water is breakthrough, 54 times more efficient. Let's talk electricity productivity. We look at grams of cannabis per kilowatt. Indoor cultivation, 0.8 benchmark, according to New Frontiers. BioHarvest, 6.18. Similarly, a factor of 8 times more efficient. I hope you see the consistent trend here. Capital efficiency, water efficiency, electricity efficiency. This is how technology has to disrupt industries which one could argue are somewhat still primitive based on how, agriculture has evolved in the last 200-300 years. Let's talk production intensity. This looks at the grams of dry flower per square foot of canopy over a 12-month period. Indoor cultivation, 174. BioHarvest, 3,318. And I'll show you how we get to that. That's roughly 19 times more per square foot. Now, this one is close to my heart. The whole importance of, carbon intensity, minimizing, fossil fuels, specifically in the US, based on how so much of the electricity is derived. And this is looking at the pounds of electricity-based CO2 equivalent per gram of cannabis produced. Indoor cultivation, 1.24, BioHarvest, 0.15, 8 times less. So you see, technology can really deliver what the world and what the regulators are looking for, and frankly, what we as consumers, as parents, as adults are looking for to make sure we leave the world in a better place for the next generations to come. Now let's look at the next challenge, and it's kind of linked to some extent with the issues around productivity related to electricity, water. We see, obviously, given the geopolitical environment, such a huge rise in US energy prices. So the cost of goods for the cannabis operators today are increasing significantly. And we have to use technology to drive cost reduction. Now, what's critical when it comes to our cannabis, and I just want to remind people that an average cannabis operator will grow, let's say, 10 to 15, 16 at the best, mediocre 14 to 20. To go from seedling all the way to harvesting, and then the plant dies and you got to go back to the beginning and start again. We are in perpetual flowering. Our bioreactors are continuously growing trichomes, and then we harvest every 3 to 4 weeks. Now, this is major because I showed you before that we're 19 times more efficient when you look at it from an overall per square foot utilization. Now it's looking at a slightly different way. When I look at it, looking at the average indoor grow under 1,000 watt light per square meter is about 1 kilo. Number of grows per year, let's say 5. So you can grow 5 kilos per year per square meter. Okay? For us, one bioreactor is roughly 1 square meter. We're getting 8 kilos every 3 weeks. That's 14 cycles a year. And that's 112 kilos. So it's a similar factor, okay? This drives COGS at a scale which we believe is roughly 60 to 75% lower than industry benchmarks as scale hits 10 tons and 20 tons respectively for our biomass. Specifically with what we see as the price increases coming as a result of the energy crisis and energy costs going up and labor costs going up. So this is really the point I'm trying to make and really help my investor partners understand why I have the privilege to sit at the table with some amazing companies, really. The cannabis operators that I'm sitting at the table, firstly, the people are just marvelous. Amazing quality of people. Great vision, great culture and values. All want to do the right thing for the world from a medicinal perspective. All want to do the right thing for the world from an overall sustainability. All want to be partners to the planet. But this is why we're now sitting with these partners in discussions. And this is why we are very attractive to these cannabis operators. We have unique composition. We have a unique product, trichomes, bubble hash, okay? BioHarvest bubble hash. We have unique trichome product. Our cost of capital is 7 times less. We have significantly less water, electricity, carbon. Justin, there's a mistake on this chart. We need to change it. I didn't update it. Okay, just remember. And we have significantly lower cost of goods. So this is why right now we are working through with a number of cannabis operators, let's call it, major multi-state country cannabis operators, as we look to find the right long-term anchor partners for the business. And I say long-term anchor partners because we want a partner that's going to be able to take our technology. They will embrace it, and they will take the technology and leverage it with breakthrough innovation for consumers as it relates to the recreational market, and specifically working with us as a health and wellness company on the medicinal market. And these are partners where ultimately it's long-term, because we're going to be disrupting parts, whether it's Canada or state by state in the US. We will be identifying through this process the best partners to really get married to as we start this journey to disrupt the cannabis industry with the right partners related to people, culture, value, capabilities. So we have a process. You can see the process goes through a number of different gates, including, obviously discussions about vision, culture, capabilities, sitting down, talking about 3-year business plan, bringing the partners to Israel to actually see the technology in motion. Myself coming to the US to really meet and bond with the partners, to understand the capabilities, to assess with our engineers the sites that we're going to be looking at bringing our technology into. And then the intention is by the end of the year to identify final partner or partners that we will enter into at least 2 markets in 2023 with our technology as part of a JV with these partners. So there you have it. Hopefully I've done a good job, hopefully, really helping you understand the need for change in the industry, helping to understand the critical insights related to the consumer and what they're looking for, and how the current operators are being challenged on so many fronts to be able to build sustainable businesses, and how technology, biotech technology, has to be the catalyst, the game changer, to be able to bring a level of disruption that can create so much more value for all the stakeholders in the system, whether it's ourselves, our partners, the consumer, retailers, shareholders. So this is the journey that we're on right now. It's every week, 2 to 3 nights a week, I'm on calls, meeting great people, getting to know people better and better. And I do believe that we will land the right partners over the course of the second half of this year to bring the power of our technology as we look to disrupt the marketplace. Okay, so I just want to touch on financing before we go to the Q&A. Basically, as everybody knows, we're in a financing process now with a convertible loan. We've already raised a substantial amount of money on the convertible loan. We still have some way to go in the next 2 to 3 weeks in order to get to where we want to get to. This is a very important bridge for us as we bring more capital into the company in order to help do what we need to do to scale the business on the back end of the year. And then obviously we believe that with the plan that I've shared with you today, what we're doing on VINIA, what we're doing with cannabis, the breakthrough disruption of our technology, that we're going to deliver a number of milestones. And you saw it already today with the Batory 1 ton, 1,000 kilo, 2,200 pounds, wherever you are, purchase order, all the way through to solid second quarter results, all the way through to me delivering on my promise on hiring a quality chief medical officer. There are a number of additional milestones in the next 3 to 4 months that we will land, that we believe will bring significant value into the company, move the share price where we believe is reflective of the disruptive nature of our platform technology. And this is when we will look to bring more money into the company at a much higher level to fund what we need to do in 2023 so that we can have the resources to be able to get the company to a break-even position in 2023, and ultimately towards the end of 2023 to move into a overall positive position from a cash operating profit perspective. That's the vision. That's the focus. And these are the building steps in order to get there. So Justin, I've gone for an hour. I'm going to stop now and hand over to you for Q&A. But I hope it's been a good session for everybody. I've really tried to kind of bring you along the journey so you all understand. I know Justin gets a lot of questions all the time. I'm getting a lot of emails. And I just wanted to try and bring you along the journey as much as possible on the two big bets, the VINIA scale up, and obviously what we're doing as far as a North America entry strategy in cannabis. Thank you.
First, we'll do an easy one. Lots of questions about your expectations for valuation, like let's say 2 years from now. One, I'll sum it up. Has anything happened recently that has impacted the execution of the company's strategy? Company's done so well quarter after quarter. Management team's been delivering on promises and commitments. Why is the stock so low?
Look, I think as a business, we've just been, delivering on the strategy. I call it operationalizing the strategy on a quarter by quarter basis perspective. I think we've been delivering and more. That's what we always try and do. The company today, as I've shared with you, we've built capabilities in the last 2 years that are transformational. Other companies, it takes 10 years, 20 years to build these kind of capabilities. However, we operate we don't operate in a vacuum. We operate in an external environment. And basically, as a result of the external environment, and people see it all around us, company valuations are down sometimes 70 to 80%. We've actually fared, I would say, somewhat better so far in this area. And, whilst at the same time being able to strengthen our capabilities. So, as I said earlier, I feel good because ultimately as CEO, my job is to drive strategy and to execute strategy. And as I've said before, one thing that 18 years at Coke taught me was how to keep my eyes on my fries, as they say in the McDonald's ad, and just be focused on executing on the strategy and operationalizing the strategy, and not get distracted by the noise out there. We're just, delivering on the milestones. There's transparency to the marketplace on our milestones, which I think is important. And, I have confidence that we're going to continue to deliver on these milestones that we've articulated and been very clear as being priorities for 2022 in the second half of the year. And I believe there'll be some rationality that'll come back to the market as we start to see, the shakeout, rationality come back to the shakeout. And those companies that have breakthrough technology, specifically platform technology, that have unique capabilities, and also have the ability to operationalize those capabilities and are continuously driving and generating more and more revenue quarter on quarter, and doing it in a way which is driving leverage in the P&L because they're driving efficiencies, driving cost reduction, and doing it in a responsible manner as it relates to the planet, we have to rise to the top. So am I disappointed where the share price is today? Of course, because I know the value of this company. I understand the capabilities that we have. As CEO of this company, I bear the responsibility of knowing the capability of our technology. And it's a big responsibility that I bear on my shoulders, because every day that I'm not executing in the marketplace is a day where maybe 1 million consumers can't enjoy the benefits of our technology, whether it's on our polyphenol antioxidant business, whether it's on our cannabis business, or on other verticals that we'll get to in the future. So net, Justin, we will continue to stay focused. We will continue, past performance predicts future performance. We'll continue to do whatever it takes to deliver on what we've committed. And I think ultimately rationality will prevail.
Thank you. Good answer. I do want to do a shout out. We've got great German representation online today.
Yeah.
And they're mostly commenting that we don't do enough marketing in Germany, but welcome to everyone. A question about markets, European as far as VINIA expectations and potential cannabis.
So a couple of things. Firstly, we are at the kind of beck and call of the regulators in the case of VINIA. Europe's just taking a long time for everybody. Every single company in the overall pharma, health and wellness space is just complaining about the challenges of dealing with the new EU. Brexit is it got complicated and it's extremely slow. We're going through that process, and Europe will happen 18 months, 24 months, I believe. What we're doing now is we're double downing on Canada to get very quickly regulated in Canada so we can sell much more efficiently in Canada, because shipping product from the US into Canada is a pain in the ass. And I apologize to some of our investor partners who have been experiencing some of that pain. I'm racking my head on how to figure out a smarter way to deal with Canadian customs. But yeah, we've got to get on the ground in Canada, have a Canadian website. And I think there's huge upside for us, and we're pushing that for early first half of next year. We're also now pushing into China and pushing into South Korea through basically e-commerce, what they call global e-commerce channels, which is going to be great for us to tip our toes into. And then China for us is a huge opportunity for VINIA. Because I'm not sure if people understand this, but, as everybody may be aware, we're the only company in the world that can produce piceid resveratrol from the skin of the red grape. And the other form of resveratrol is polyginum, which is an inferior form of resveratrol. Polyginum is actually grown from the Japanese knotweed. And in China today, you're not actually able to buy resveratrol as a local Chinese consumer in China. Buying from local Chinese retail, JD.com, locally in China, you're not able to buy polyginum resveratrol. It's not regulated in China, and there's reasons why I don't want to get into. So we're with Dr. Brian going to be looking quickly, and also we have an amazing partner in China, an advisor to the company, Dr. Wai Ying. We're going to be working on moving into clinicals in China to be able to get regulated in the Chinese market. And that's something we're looking at doing in the next 12 to 18 months. So, I believe that this, plus also Japan, we have a huge amount of interest in the product from the Japanese, specifically from some of the big major Japanese companies there that have reached out to us. So those markets will basically more than make up for some of the slowness in Europe. And frankly, in the US, the size of the prize is so huge. Just with our capsule product, it's huge. Then we're going to add gummies. Then we're going to add the protein energy bar. Then there's opportunities that I talked about earlier in oral care and some of the other areas. It's huge. So I feel good about what we're doing. You know, where there's slowness in some markets, you can move quickly in other markets, and we're being opportunistic, and that's balancing the equation.
Okay, just a lot of questions, so I'll try to bang them here. Can you give what are your expectations for an answer on Israeli regulatory approvals?
Well, we've pretty much gone through, I would say, a large part of the process. We've answered all the questions of the Ministry of Health. In Israel, it's a combination to be regulated. It's a combination of Ministry of Health, and then you have also the police, obviously, as a level 1 substance. So we're still going back and forth on a few things, you know, to meet the requirements from a security and police perspective, because we are, you know, Israeli R&D, R&D here in Israel, but we are a Canadian company. But I feel like, you know, the Ministry of Health here has a very good understanding of our technology. We were the first novel food with VINIA to be, and only novel food to be approved here in Israel. So they have acute knowledge of our technology. And I feel like, you know, this is something that, you know, will land, I would say, in the short term.
We kind of went over this. You asked about, you mentioned Canada. People did ask, are you going to be available on Amazon in Canada?
So basically, it will be Amazon in the US. Once we get regulated in Canada, we will then be able to be Amazon in Canada.
And then just a couple quick questions on the potential nature of the partnership discussions. Is the focus on exclusivity with one major partner, or?
It will be state-by-state exclusivity.
Okay. Are you still thinking about us producing our own products, or are you thinking a licensing model, or like a plant within a plant?
The kind of models that we're rolling around in really is a true, you know, let me step back. We're looking for anchor partners. These are long-term partners. So the kind of relationships that we're looking at are partnerships which will be, you know, fair sharing of value, which is really joint venturing, okay, and having a fair sharing of the value equation. So, you know, we'll have our responsibilities as far as the end-to-end value chain. We'll be focusing, obviously, on the R&D and the manufacturing. So should we set up a facility with a certain partner in, call it state X, okay, we would literally come and we would set up and build a factory. And we know how to do this, and we can do it quickly. And we would have a team of BioHarvest employees on site in the factory, working with the operators on the partner's license. And we would basically be using their genetics, and we would be growing cannabis with their genetics, and literally passing the trichomes through a window and saying, here you go. Now let's take this with innovative products and bring it to market.
Passing through a window, that's going to be cool. That answered a lot of questions. A lot of people were asking that. It brings you to this. There are a lot of people suggesting their favorite MSO suggestions for who to talk to in Europe. And we get a lot of great feedback. How do you want people to be able to submit? How's the communication loop here? And people wanting to do business.
Yeah. So look, I think we have a pretty efficient system between you and I, Justin. I would say firstly, I'll take this opportunity to say to a number of our investor partners, thank you very much for a lot of the information, quality information, points of view, perspectives, recommendations that you share with us on a daily basis. I kind of feel like I have an advisory board, and then I have a team of investor partner advisors, and they're really good. And you guys, you people out there, I'm sure many of you are listening, you all know who you are. So firstly, thank you very much. Secondly, for those people and other people that want to share recommendations, perspective, insights with us, just send it to Justin at bioharvest.com or me directly at Ilan at bioharvest.com. Copy both of us, just so we don't miss anybody. And, you know, it's always very much appreciated. You always get a response quickly. And I will tell you, you know, a lot of the work that our investor partners are doing, it helps build my knowledge base, right? There's been a few things that have come across my desk in the last few weeks that are really interesting that, you know, frankly, I didn't think about. and they plant, golden nuggets of truth in my brain to help us, become sharper and better on our strategy and execution. So, we're building a company that's different to other companies. This is a company, it doesn't matter, please God, we'll be a multi-billion-dollar company, and we'll stay with the same accessibility that we have today. And we will have it so that our investor partners are really part of the movement of change that's growing this company. You are all growing this company as much as I'm growing the company. You all have the same level of responsibility and accountability, obviously in different quantities, but relatively, to be able to grow this company, because you all have the ability to influence because of the transparency of how we operate and the openness of how we operate. And frankly, that's what one of the things that I love about this company. I love about the culture that we're building, because you listen to other CEOs, they don't talk to their shareholders as investor partners, right? You all 103 of you that have stayed listening to me for now 80 minutes, you're all investor partners. Otherwise, you wouldn't be all on the call here listening and being part of this discussion. But it's two-way. In this case today, we have some Q&A, but please continue to provide the feedback. We're all building this company. Justin.
Yes. Sorry, my internet went out.
Okay. You're doing well.
Sorry about that. But more questions? I could pound through a couple.
Yeah, I'm happy to keep on going. We still have 104 people. So I'm sure what I presented.
People are asking about markets. You talked about cannabis. If you're going to expand VINIA, where would you expect future VINIA production might be based?
I think that depending on the B2B partnerships that we have, there will likely be a need for VINIA manufacturing in North America. Okay. And similarly, I think down in the future in key markets like Japan, where just based on the nature of how business is done there, the local proximity is very, very important. And I also want to, the way we think about it as well, is we're not just thinking about VINIA. We think about it as really the polyphenol antioxidant vertical, which is VINIA, which is olive cells, pomegranate cells. Israel still, for us, from a manufacturing base, is phenomenal. We have access from Israel into China, into Europe, and together with our partner Orihan, the next step that was a dream 2 years ago, and Ori and I have a picture of a mega plant in the south of Israel, which literally would be like an 80 to 100 ton kind of modular plant. We kind of visualized it as a dream, but if you don't dream it, if you don't will it, it's not a reality. And basically, that I think Israel's still an amazing base. But if we have to, because of B2B partnership agreements, have to build plants in the US, this is not an issue, but it'll be for a specific purpose.
And a lot of talk about VINIA and cannabis. Are you still on pace in the superfruit vertical with Olivia?
Yeah, I mean, technology-wise, yes, 100%. We've got to work quickly through the regulatory process in the US. We've just started that process, also with Dr. Brian here. I will also share with you all that what's beautiful about our business is that the cross-vertical fertilization is amazing. So one of the things when we talk to the multi-state operators, and it was a little bit surprising to me because you kind of become a little bit myopic in your thinking that the multi-state operators or the Canadian LPs are only interested in cannabis. But when you actually start to talk about VINIA and what we do in the polyphenol space, all of a sudden you start to get lots of questions, and they're kind of asking and starting to bring ideas that we've been dreaming of a while back, which is, the right combinations of VINIA with cannabis, VINIA with CBD. You have some amazing, amazing targeted indications that we can go after and really create enormous value for the consumer and for the company. So when you start to think about the different, products that we can bring to market as a result of the cross-vertical, call it fertilization or integration, the opportunities are significant. Similarly, Dr. Brian has some amazing ideas on specific indications that VINIA together with the olive cells can actually have a significant impact on. I don't want to get into it now. He'll talk more about it when he talks to the shareholder partners, hopefully in the third quarter update.
Excellent. When do you expect to release the 2022 ESG report?
I believe this will be something that we'll do. Will land in fourth quarter. Part of my my reticence to do it now was just to get to a lot of what I shared with you now. There's a tremendous amount of work on the data crunching and the numbers. Also, our sustainability report looks very different with this new machine that we purchased. All right, it makes a transformational change to the electricity utilization, water utilization. Now that we're moving towards freeze drying, microwave drying versus traditional spray drying that's been around for like 40 years and is not the best technology from a sustainability perspective. So now that we're landing on some of those final technologies, similarly in the cannabis space, we're landing on our final, call it drying technology in the cannabis space. Then we have the whole picture, and we can actually come in and share a sustainability report that I think will just be super, super disruptive for the industry based on some of the numbers that I shared with you all today.
We have a few consumer goods people online asking if they've got questions about utilizing VINIA in like baked goods or other type of products. Do they go to Batory?
Yeah, please go directly to Batory. But from a B2B perspective, Batory and Nicole, who leads the team there, they're really the force that's driving all of our engagement with the very clearly strategic segmented customers that we've started to have dialogues with.
Mm-hmm. And still like a lot of questions about the valuation and future capital needs. You mentioned at some point next year the company may be break even.
Correct. Look, you don't find many small, medium cap, however you want to call us, actually providing the kind of guidance that we've given, and then the level of transparency that we've given, and that's very, very purposeful. For me, it's like sticking my neck out there because I think most people would never want to put something like a flag down with those kind of metrics, but metrics ultimately in a performance-based culture, they drive people, they drive behavior. And so that's the aspiration, and that's linked to my performance metrics, that's linked to my salary, that's linked to my relationship with the board. And so, that is something that is a target that we've put in place, and it remains a target, and we'll do whatever we can to get there. Ideally, I do believe with what we're doing in cannabis and the scale up with VINIA that we can get there. We can get there. It's doable. Otherwise, we wouldn't have said that. And you know what? And just being very, very transparent. If it takes a little bit longer, it's not going to be a train wreck. What it will mean, just put some perspective, is that ultimately, as a biotech company, we will look to be break even after $75 million of investment. And I would challenge anyone out there to show me a biotech company with platform technology that's able to break even with less than $100 million in investment. And if you find that company, please come and help me understand. And so that's like, for me, an aspiration that I have. I'm like $75 million to break even biotech platform technology company. That would be a pretty cool kind of milestone aspiration to hit. And that's like, basically that kind of lands us with the break even for next year, $10 to $15 million coming in. If you look at what we've taken in as a company since 2008, that's what it's taken to get us here. And in the scheme of things, based on the power of our technology, it would be a pretty exciting achievement to be able to accomplish.
How about two more questions and then your final thoughts? We're just coming up to 90 minutes.
No, I'm fine. No problem.
Is analyst coverage a priority?
Absolutely.
That's easy.
Absolutely. Big priority.
Yeah. I've got two people mentioned it, sort of drop it on the end, but speaking of shareholder family, Connor Greenway's name has been brought up from some of our VINIA customers. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. We had a very tragic loss in the company of a tremendous young man that many of you who are customers of VINIA may have got to know. And Connor Greenway passed away, I believe it was sometime in the middle of May, in a tragic car accident. It was very, very challenging for the company. And I'm sure, his parents, who are amazing people, and, in commemoration of what Connor did for the company, because he had such a unique personality and a unique set of values. Many of you who are customers of VINIA would have spoken to Connor and found somebody that was so connected to our customers, was such a caring young man with such deep empathy and really a heart of gold I've never seen before, and so committed to the company. And, we felt that it was only appropriate that we really commemorate Connor and specifically the values that he stood for and the critical components of his personality that just, connected so much with so many people in the company as well as with our customers. And we will be bringing into the company a special award in honor of Connor for the employee that most reflects the core values that Connor stood for as it related to the work values and the human values. And in fact, Connor's parents are going to be part of the process to actually help in the final choice of that employee every single year. So it will be the Connor Greenway Award, which will be given to a very, very unique employee for exhibiting those values. And I think that's really just the least that we can do in order to really commemorate this, keep the spirit of Connor alive in the company, and to really demonstrate the importance of our other employees modeling the same kind of behaviors that Connor brought to the business: the passion, the commitment, the smile all the time, the ability to deal with very challenging situations with a level of calmness and empathy. And so I think the whole experience was a very challenging, obviously, experience for everybody. And my deepest sympathies on behalf of the company to his family as well, who honored his and gave such an amazing tribute to his life over the last few months that we had a small opportunity to be part of. So I don't know, Justin, if you want to add anything that you felt.
No, well said. I think he made, it's all about making the company a better place and a better company, and he definitely did that. So, yeah, well said. Okay, why don't we please take us away with your final words then, Ilan?
So, I'm really happy that where we stand right now, from a quality of the leadership team around me, I'm surrounded with amazing, experienced people. You probably heard me say this a few times. I think one of our biggest assets is that 50% of our workforce is above the age of 50. In biotech, age counts. Shortly, I'll be joining that 50s club, and I'm very proud to be part of the 50s club. And it's just the quality of the leadership team that we've built. With Dr. Yochi, Dr. Malkit, Michal, Bar on the finance side, Justin being a critical partner now with Dr. Brian on board, Kobe on the operational side. It's with Jared on the marketing side and leading the e-commerce and the marketing strategy and his team. I'm super lucky to have an amazing team around me, and I keep on talking about capabilities. We've really built amazing capabilities. What we've achieved in the last 2 years, as it relates to bringing the power of the plant to the people through what we do with VINIA and now what we're doing in cannabis. If I would have, I had my 2-year anniversary last month, and if I would have gone back 2 years and said, in 2 years' time, would I be happy if we achieved what we achieved right now? I would be ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. And I just feel like we're building the foundational capabilities to really build a multi-billion-dollar company. And that's the aspiration. And it's a multi-billion-dollar company that is going to literally change the lives of tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions. And what an amazing legacy to leave the world. And I feel very, very privileged to be the CEO of this company and to have investor partners like all of you to be part of that journey and helping us in really executing and driving on that vision. So yeah, it's been a tough quarter as far as the world around us imploding, but we've stayed the course. We've delivered solid results. We've delivered everything we said we would deliver, and I think, and even more. The cannabis capabilities that we have, I think, are way in excess of what I thought we would have when I invested in the company in December of 2019, right? It's like a dream. And that's, like I said this a few times, it's a very heavy responsibility that myself and the team that we wear on our chest to make sure that we're able to commercialize this, to bring it to the market with the right partners, and really bring, like I say, the power of the plant to the people in a way that can, transform their life from an overall health and wellness. So thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your engagement, for your partnership, and stay tuned. Put your seatbelts on. It's going to be a fun ride for the second half of this year. And I think because of the transparency, you have a very clear sense of what's coming and what we're working on. And hopefully we'll make sure that we deliver and more on those expectations. So thank you to everybody. Thanks for being with us for the last 95 minutes.